Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. This is your latest Manchester United news. Plenty to talk about tonight as we look at the, backlash from Erik ten Hag's criticism of Jadon Sancho and subsequently Jadon Sancho's response to it. Idiot. We're going to talk about Antony as well. Some, disappointing news coming out in relation to him as well. And we'll talk, of course, on the back of last night's disappointing performance, I won't say performance, but maybe disappointing result against Newcastle. Please do smash a like on the video, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's get right into it. We have to start with Jadon Sancho. Massive breaking news last night and today. Erik ten Hag coming out and, in his post-match press conference saying that the reason Jadon Sancho wasn't picked is because he didn't train well this week. So basically, Ten Hag said, on his performance in training, we didn't select him. You have to reach the level every day at Manchester United. You can make choices in the front line, so this game he wasn't selected. Now look, I mentioned it early today as well, that I think, of course, Erik ten Hag is entitled to do what he wants in terms of his starting 11, really, isn't he? He's entitled to pick who he wants. He's entitled to, say and explain his reasoning behind not choosing somebody. And so, look, we obviously seen that coming out, and there was no issue with that straight away. Everyone just said, all right, well, he mustn't have had a good week in training, so on and so forth. And I'd say within an hour, Jadon Sancho had released his own statement, putting his own point across as to what happened. So basically he says, please don't believe everything you read. I will not allow people saying things that is completely untrue. I have conducted myself in training very well this week. I believe there are other reasons for this matter that I won't go into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair. All I want to do is play football with a smile on my face and contribute to my team. I respect all decisions that are made by the coaching staff. I play with fantastic players and grateful to do so, which I know every week is a challenge. I will continue to fight for this badge no matter what. All right, now look, we'll go down through it and break it down, because this is absolutely, United is an absolute circus at the moment. It really is. Get your comments in as well. We'll go down through the comments in a moment. So, if we start with, first and foremost, please don't believe everything you read. Well, first and foremost, there was nothing written about you. The manager said what he was entitled to say. Sancho says, I will not allow people to say things that is completely untrue. I've conducted myself in training very well this week. So, whether you think you've conducted yourself well in training is irrelevant. Your job is not to pick the team. Your job is to make the manager pick you. You obviously haven't done enough to get the job done and get yourself picked. Erik ten Hag's only job is to put out a starting 11 that he thinks can get 3 points. That's his only job. And your overinflated ego to come out and say, these things are untrue and I've conducted myself very well in training. Your opinion does not matter when it comes to what Erik ten Hag thinks. He's entitled to pick the team that he wants. He's entitled to pick the squad that he wants. He's entitled to leave out whoever he wants. We've got, you look at yesterday, we had obviously Antony and Marcus Rashford both start on the wings. We had Pellistri and Garnacho on the bench. You're not going to have 3 wingers on the bench. And it's not like these wingers can play in different areas. You're wingers. So I'm sure that Erik ten Hag's reasoning behind it was that, okay, Pellistri has trained well this week. Garnacho has trained well this week. Rashford and Antony have trained well this week. They've all trained better than you, so you're not in the squad. Could you imagine David Beckham coming out in 1998 if he was left out of a matchday squad by Ferguson and going straight to the media with a statement saying what Sir Alex Ferguson said was untrue? I'm not going to let him talk about me like that. You'd be fucking gone out the door. You'd never see the light of day in Manchester United ever again. These players just have so much have such overinflated egos that it's just unbelievable. It really is. He goes on to say, I've been scapegoated for a long time, which isn't fair. I don't think that's true. I don't think he's been scapegoated at all. Harry Maguire, for example, has been a major scapegoat because of his performances. Jadon Sancho has been a player that has got a lot of time and a lot of patience, both from the manager and from the Manchester United fan base. You know, he got 3 months off last year because his performances weren't up to scratch and he obviously wasn't in the right headspace. He comes back and he doesn't set the world alight either when he comes back. And now he's coming out and saying these kind of things. I think it's just absolute nonsense. He says, all I want to do is play football with a smile on my face and contribute to my team. Yeah, but the thing about that is you haven't contributed that much at all. You know, I think we've seen flashes of, you know, good performances from Jadon Sancho. But when have we seen Jadon Sancho going for 4, 5, 6 weeks on the trot, putting in match-winning performances week in, week out, week in, week out? It hasn't happened. We've seen isolated pockets of maybe one game here, one game there, where we've gone, Jesus, he's some player. But over a consistent period of time, it just hasn't happened. So that's another bullshit comment there. I respect all decisions that are made by the coaching staff. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be coming out with a statement like this on the back of your manager making an honest, answering a question honestly in a press conference. If Erik ten Hag made up, you know, that, let's say he made up, Sancho has a slight, he has a slight niggle, for example, a slight injury, to protect him a little bit and not maybe say, I didn't pick him because of his performances in training. And then Sancho comes out and makes this statement anyway. What's Erik ten Hag going to look like? He's going to look like an absolute mug. So Erik ten Hag is right, and he's well within his rights to absolutely tell the truth about why he's not picking players. You know, and for Sancho to come out and say, I respect all decisions, in a statement being put out against the manager, is complete and utter bullshit, in my opinion. I play with fantastic players and grateful to do so, so which I know every week is a challenge. I will continue to fight for the badge no matter what. Well, I mean, if we break this down, I'll get into your comments in a moment as well. If we break this down and talk about what's going to happen here and what the end goal is, there can't be two winners here. You know, this is too serious of a situation where I think both Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho can come out of this together. I think Jadon Sancho, his time is done pretty much. You cannot come out and disrespect a manager like that and expect to get away with it and expect to survive at a club like Manchester United. It just doesn't happen. You can't do it. You know, Erik ten Hag has been completely undermined. And I think, reading reports last night, supposedly Erik ten Hag found out about it just like the rest of us on the coach on the way back to Manchester. So reports are coming out today as well saying, Fabrizio Romano says ten Hag and some of his Man United staff have not been happy with Jadon Sancho's level of training. Tensions have been around for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Sancho thinks there is something else, and those close to him insist he is doing his best. Listening to reports from other outlets, supposedly there are some rumours going around that Jadon Sancho is probably going out a bit too much in Manchester, stuff like that. I don't know what truth is behind that. But yeah, whatever it is, Erik ten Hag has not been happy with him. And that's clear, because you don't get left out of a squad like that if you're playing the way you should be playing and you're conducting yourself the way you should be conducting yourself. And I have to say, it does come as a bit of a surprise, because I thought Jadon Sancho was one of our only real bright players in pre-season. And some of the cameo roles that he has come on in games during this season have been decent. You know, he hasn't set the world alight. You know, and I think the way he's gone on and the way he's talking about, he's been... Now, look, I can maybe understand if his criticism here is of, why am I not getting as much of an opportunity to start every game than, say, Antony is, and he's putting in poor performance after poor performance. I could understand that. But I think, on the whole, I think nobody in the last... I suppose ever since Erik ten Hag has been there's been a handful of players that have been consistently really good for United. Marcus Rashford, Lisandro Martinez, Bruno Fernandes, and Casemiro are probably the only four you could say, and maybe Luke Shaw on the basis of last season. He has dropped off this season though. They have basically been the only four players that you could say have been consistently good over a prolonged period of time under Erik ten Hag. Everybody else, you can't put in that bracket, and we're starting to see some of the old ways creep back in. And we've seen, and the old ways, I mean the Ranić days and the Ollie days, where players were coming out behind the manager's back, behind the club's back, putting out their own statements. We've seen it twice this year already, and it's from two players that have been there before Erik ten Hag has arrived. One was, of course, this one, Jadon Sancho, and the other was Harry Maguire. When he got the captaincy removed from him, he actually came out and made a statement before the club even made a statement. So these are players that have been there when all of this bullshit was going on before Erik ten Hag was the manager. And we seen this summer, Erik ten Hag was open to sell both Harry Maguire and, more importantly, Jadon Sancho. He was open to selling him because he could get money in for him. He obviously knew he wasn't up to scratch. He could see the writing was on the wall with him, and we tried to sell him. But what happened? The fucking board and the club let him down again by not getting the job done and not getting him off the books. He's on 300 grand a week plus. What team is going to come in? I mean, again, if Jadon Sancho leaves Manchester United, and we'll get into where he could potentially go in the next couple of weeks because there are still options open. But if he was to go to a Premier League club in January, for example, who would come in for him? Spurs, maybe? Maybe. I don't think Ange Postecoglou would come in for him now that he's seen what's going on now. Liverpool wouldn't go near him. City wouldn't go near him. Arsenal wouldn't go near him. I don't think Newcastle would go near him. He would probably end up maybe at a West Ham or a Aston Villa, a team like that. Maybe a Brentford even, So, again, we're going to fall into the same trap that we've had before, that it's going to be hard to move these players off the books. It really is. But is there a case for Manchester United to sell him? Because we know the Turkish league is still open, and we know the Saudi, the transfer window. The Turkish and the Saudi transfer windows are still open. Do United cash in? I'll put it to you. Let me know in the chat. Do you cash in the chips now for Jadon Sancho and sell him to Saudi Arabia and try and get... I mean, the way Saudi Arabia are throwing money around, you could get 100 million for him. Would you do it? Interesting. Let's see what people have to say. We'll go through some of your comments here and see what people are saying. Ben says, Sancho should have proved himself on the pitch. Actions speak louder than words, in my opinion. Irish Lad says, bare minimum from a player that they train like their life depends on it. I get that from my daughter's under 14 team. Chris says, how have we come to this? Sancho, that mild prima donna. Aaron says, evening all, it's not been a great couple of days. We are becoming a laughing stock. Irish Lad says, really feel sorry for Erik ten Hag and past managers for having to coach these overrated players. Ben says no one would dare to do it under Fergie. Chris says he's been given chance after chance. Can't remember one time where I thought, Jesus, lads, this Sancho lad is some baller. Not once since he joined. Chris also says he's not a star. He just wants to be a player. Eric Ten Hag said nothing wrong. Sancho should be inspired, not defensive. Niall says, we discussed this at the end of last season with you, whether he should be sold or not. He proved nothing since he came to United. Yeah, and I give him the benefit of the doubt. I said that I would give him one more season, and if his performances don't improve, then it would be time for him to move on. But on the back of this, it's time to move on, in my opinion. Now, again, you have to be smart in these circumstances as well. Is Eric Ten Hag going to, want to get rid of him when he can't afford to get rid of him? Can we afford to get rid of Jadon Sancho? The transfer window is closed. You're looking at having a very, 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 very young group of wingers. You're going to have, obviously, Marcus Rashford, and you would probably put Antony into the bracket of more senior players. After that, if Jadon Sancho goes, we're left with Garnacho, Pellistri, Ahmad. That's it. So, we're not overly blessed with experience. Now, do I think that some of them players could potentially be better than Sancho? Absolutely, I do. But would I want to put that kind of pressure on an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old? Probably not. So, it's going to be a tricky scenario for Eric Ten Hag and what he wants to do here. But whatever he does, I will 100% back him. Let's see. Chris says he has to be dropped to the under-23s and we move on ASAP. Mark says Sancho isn't the first player to come to United with credentials and has failed to deliver. Yeah, absolutely. PJ says Saudi Arabia bid incoming. Yeah, there we go. I mean, let me know. I mean, would you take it? I don't know. Let's see. Send him to Turkey, says Chris. Ben says definitely bye-bye Sancho. Niall says, I've been saying this since last season. Antony has done more in less time than Sancho. Irish says 100% sell him. Chris says sell Sancho to Saudi for 50 million. Jock says send him on. You're right, it's that mutiny shit. So toxic for the team. Katie says, what update? I just joined. Just talking about Sancho, Katie. Chris says, rather have young, hungry winners than mind games like Sancho. Yeah, that's true as well. Let's see what people on TikTok are saying here. Do hit the follow button if you're new to the channel as well, guys. Onana says, how much would Sancho be and where would he go? Aston Villa or Borussia Dortmund for 30 mil? Well, he can't go anywhere in Europe until January, but you could get him to Saudi or to Turkey. Their transfer window is still open. Let's see. CB says it proves the German league is not great. Yeah, maybe so. Sancho, another 100 million wasted by United. 70 million. United will do very well to make Europa, says user. Let's see. Fulham says, let's see, what does he say there? Sorry, I just lost that one. Ten Hag isn't the guy. Gone by the end of the season. Nonsense. Adam says we should at least give Pellistri some minutes on the pitch. Daniel says, would you take it? So would I take the money for Sancho at the moment? I probably wouldn't, to be honest. I think probably the smart move is to hold on to him minimum until January. Try and come to some kind of reconciliation. I think that's as much as in the heat of the moment you would go, yeah, fuck him, you know what I mean? I would have him around. Now, that doesn't mean I would play him an awful lot, but I would. Yeah, I think you have to keep him. I think you have to keep minimum until January, until we can try and get some kind of cover in for him. Can you blame Sancho though, says Keane, what are you on about, man? You're talking absolute nonsense. He's getting played. He's getting played at what? What good performances has he put in? You know what I mean? If he put in a 6 or 7 game run of unreal performances, I would be saying, yeah, you have a point there. But you're talking nonsense. You know what I mean? Absolute nonsense. These fans that are just, they're more fans of individual players than they are of the actual club. It's absolute nonsense, so it is. James says, imagine if he said that and Sir Alex was still the manager, he would never play for us again. Absolutely. Let's see. Karen says, Sancho needs game time to prove how good he is. One of the best wingers in the world. Karen, he's had over 2 years of pretty much non-stop game time. And what has he shown? Nothing. Do you do a YouTube show like Negative Bridge? We're live on YouTube as well, guys. Yeah, so anybody watching on TikTok, if you want to come over to YouTube, we're live over there as well. United Community Channel on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Get over there. Hit subscribe. Get in the chat. Let us know you've come over from TikTok. Sancho needs time. United have wasted his talent, says the boys. Lad, you just go against everything that's been done at United. I seen you in the chat yesterday. You know what I mean? And you're entitled to your opinion. But you're wrong. Sancho has had over 2 years to prove himself. He had 3 months off to go and get his head right and get his act together last year. 3 months off to train on his own. And he comes back and does fuck all. So, yeah, it's time for him to go, I think. Well, not just yet, but until we get covering. Was Sancho ever really that good, says Finney? Well, not for United, but I mean, the player we bought from Borussia Dortmund was certainly a top class player, you would have to say. Look at Pepe with Arsenal, says Bubbles, thrown out the door, whereas United will cling on to Sancho and Antony. Well, Pepe is still on the books at Arsenal. You know what I mean? So they're still paying his wages. Finney says Antony is in trouble as well, by all accounts. Another Greenwood. Yeah, we're going to get into that now in a moment. Adam says sell Sancho in January and get a new winger to replace him. Let's see. Charlie says, well, lad, what's going on with this team? Pulling my hair out. It's certainly been a frustrating few days, in fairness. Let's move it on, guys, and let's talk about Antony. So some not nice reports coming out about Antony, and yeah, I'm not going to go into too much depth here because obviously you can read it yourself online, but his ex-girlfriend has come out and she has made some pretty damning statements about him in terms of domestic abuse and stuff like that, and he pretty much saying he suffers from some mental health as well and stuff like that as well. And yeah, it's not a nice read. Supposedly her lawyers are also in contact with Manchester United and the Manchester police. So yeah, another fucking distraction. Now, it's more than a distraction if it is true, because obviously it's, you have to take football out of the equation here. If something like this has happened, then, it has to be taken very, very seriously, because it is a very, very serious topic, and a topic that shouldn't go unanswered. And look, we've seen with Mason Greenwood the debacle we've had with that over the last 18 months or so. It now seems, I don't know, maybe it won't be the case, but it now seems like we're potentially going to go down a similar route with Antony. And yeah, I think if I bring it back to a footballing, to Manchester United, and again, I don't want to make little of the situation and what's happened, but obviously we're a football show, a football channel, a Manchester United channel. It's just another massive distraction for Erik ten Hag, for Manchester United, for the dressing room, for the fan base, for the fucking media. You know what I mean? And yeah, look, we're going to have to see what happens with this further down the line, but it's going to be interesting to see. Again, look, this is a report coming out from an individual. Again, I don't see Antony being potentially suspended like Mason Greenwood has until there is maybe some evidence. I mean, if you look at the Mason Greenwood situation in comparison to this, for example, you know, there was audio and there was video, and it was pretty damning. You knew it was Mason Greenwood, so on and so forth. There was a report that came out about Antony a few months back, suggesting that he had been physical towards an ex-girlfriend of his. She gave a date. It turns out he was actually playing a football match in Manchester on that date. So I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens here. But it's another huge distraction for Manchester United, and one that, you know, is just really, really not needed at the moment. It really isn't. And I think yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, is there anything really Manchester United can do to stop these kind of things? I don't think there is. You know, I think human beings are going to be human beings. You know what I mean? Like, if you have somebody who's going to do this, regardless of whether they play for Manchester United or not, probably going to do it anyway, you know, and that's the sad thing about it. I mean, there are hundreds, thousands of cases of this that are outside the public eye on a daily basis, you know. I'm not saying that they're any more or less important than this one. Of course they're not. But it's just disappointing to see, after getting over or you know, getting to some kind of clarity on the Mason Greenwood situation, we now have it, you know, rearing its ugly head again, and it's just super frustrating. In fairness, it really is. Let's see. Paul is over from TikTok. Appreciate it, Paul. Chris says Sancho was only top class because he was serving balls to Haaland. He also says, we just have to wait and see if it's true. If it's true, we send him along, cancel his contract, move in, zero tolerance. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Ben says, it's mad, Jack. You have a football channel and all you do is talk about crap like this. It's so annoying. Absolutely. Paul says, Glazers out. 100%, Paul. James says, Palestri always looks more of a threat going forward than Antony. And Katie says, what update on the Glazers, please? There is none. There is none. So yeah, look, it's another distraction there with Antony, but look, we'll see in the coming days what comes of it. Yeah, I mean, look, let's talk about yesterday's performance for a few minutes, because we've had time to digest it. We've had time to, I suppose, come to terms with it more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, obviously a desperately disappointing result. I think by the looks of things, Lisandro Martinez is going to be okay. He travelled to Argentina straight away for international duty. Now, I think he is going to undergo tests over there. But I think Lindelof is probably the more serious one of the two. There was a video coming out of Lindelof limping out of the stadium yesterday, so that's not good. We have Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire finishing the game. And I go back to what I said yesterday. It stinks of Glazer investment. And, I mean, it even goes back to, you know, we're talking about this Jadon Sancho situation here, where he goes behind the club's back, goes behind the manager's back to, you know, release his own statement. Would you ever see that at Manchester City? If Phil Foden was dropped from Manchester City and he released a statement suggesting, or, you know, saying that Pep Guardiola was wrong and, you know, he should be still in the team, he would never play for Guardiola again, and he'd be sold at the closest available transfer window. He'd be gone, you know. So I go back to the Glazers here. It's just a fucking terribly, badly, shitty run club. It just is, from top to bottom. Eric Ten Hag is doing a stellar job, in my opinion. with the resources that he has. He's getting no backing from above. His own player now, one of his own players has put the knife in his back as well. On the back of a really, really good season last year. I think he deserves so much credit. Manchester United do not deserve Erik ten Hag, in my opinion. He's had to go through so much as a manager in such a short period of time. The Glazers dicking around with the club, the Ronaldo situation, the Harry Maguire situation, the Mason Greenwood situation, Jadon Sancho situation now, and potentially an Antony situation. All while trying to get 3 points every week. Getting us into the top 4 last year. Winning a trophy and getting to an FA Cup final. And you want to tell me that he's not doing a good job? You're having a laugh. So you're having an absolute laugh. And I'm going to back him. I'm going to back him for as long as it takes, because he's not getting the support he deserves. And I think by some miracle, the club gets sold. And Erik ten Hag is still there by the time the new owners come in. And he gets back properly. I think we'll see the real Erik ten Hag then, in my opinion. United were very lucky yesterday, says Irish lad. United were the better team for a lot of the game. Paul says, disappointing result, but the performance overall wasn't too bad away to Arsenal. Yeah, so, yesterday, my general opinion on yesterday was, I think it was an improved performance. The Nottingham Forest game and the Arsenal game have been improved performances. Now, look, Nottingham Forest, we gave away 2 goals in 4 minutes. That's inexcusable. I'm not trying to back up for anybody there, or stick up for anybody. But we showed great resilience to come back and win, 3-2. Yesterday's game away at the Emirates is not an easy game. We kept Arsenal at bay and frustrated them for large periods of the game. And the game plan, if Garnacho had been 2 inches further back when the ball was played, we would be lauding this as an Erik ten Hag masterclass. Coming in to the Emirates, soaking up all of the pressure from Arsenal, hitting them on the counter-attack with Marcus Rashford, being very controlled with the ball at the back, playing out from the back when we can, and then we hit them on the break again in the second half with Garnacho going through, make it 2-1, snatch and grab out of there with 3 points, happy days. You'd be lauding it as a brilliant, brilliant result and a great performance. But the fact that it goes the other way, it's fine margins. I think yesterday's performance was an okay performance. It's an improvement. Look, don't get me wrong, we've still got a long, long way to go. But we've got Hyland coming in who looks good. Hopefully Amrabat will come in and hit the ground running as well. I think we'll be alright. But yeah, let me see what people are saying here. Let me see what's people saying here. Paul says, do you agree with Erik ten Hag? United were robbed. The goal was offside marginally and was no foul on the Rice goal. I had a bet on United, so I wanted them to win, but fair is fair. To be honest with you, I think the goal was offside. You're either onside or you're offside. The technology is there now. There's 5 cameras that judge the angles, and I was reading today that it's 50 frames a second. You know what I mean? So they can tell when you're offside and when you're onside. Doesn't matter what angle you're looking at. Doesn't matter what camera it is that's taking the shot. You're either onside or you're offside. He was offside. And in terms of the foul for the Declan Rice goal, I think it's one of them ones where if it's given as a foul, the team that have given the foul away are furious, and if it's not given, the other team are furious, So, look, I don't have too much wrong to say about the officials yesterday. I was hearing people saying the officials are after robbing United. The penalty was overturned for Arsenal, and rightly so. I think the officials actually had a pretty decent game yesterday. Now, look, there's always one or two situations where referees give decisions that you're going to shout and roar and say, no, ref, and that will always be the case. But I think on the whole, I think the referee got the majority of the decisions right yesterday. Ben says, 100% Jack, you would blame Ten Hag if he walked away at the end of the season. Chris says, we played well, nothing went our way. Hyland was fouled by Gabriel, should have been a pen. After seeing the replay, I can't see how that was a foul. I don't think it was a foul, Chris, and I take your point. I really, really do. I'm not trying to just be dismissive or go against what people are saying here. But football is a contact sport. And two big men going up against it like that, 50-50 balls, I have no problem with it. You know what I mean? I have no problem with it. It's all about contact, and there's too much been given now for very little contact in the game, and I'm sick of it. I really am. I'm sick of players going down, on the slightest of contacts and referees blowing the whistle. We're playing a contact sport. You should be allowed to make contact with an opponent and not give away a free, And I think if that penalty is given yesterday on Highland, I think Arsenal are furious, and I would be too if that was given away against me. But I just want less frees in the game, in my opinion. I just want less frees. I think we're gone too soft. I really do. Erik Ten Hag must have thought that Glazers would be well gone by this stage of the season. Really feel for Ten Hag. James says, jumped over from TikTok. I'm backing Ten Hag. 100% best manager since Sir Alex. Yeah, I agree, James. Thanks for coming across. Do appreciate you hitting subscribe. Aaron says, Arsenal celebrated yesterday's game like they had won the Champions League. If that's the best they've got, then no chance of a title challenge. Arsenal are going to be nowhere near Man City if that's the way they're going to be playing every game. They were pretty bad yesterday as well. So, yeah, if anything can be taken from yesterday's game, it's that both Manchester United and Arsenal are miles off of Manchester City. Miles off of Manchester City. I think Manchester City are going to walk the league. They're just going to walk it at a canter, and it's a worry. Irish Test says, Glazers not selling, ? I think the fan base will lose it if they don't go. They will go. They haven't got the money to stay. They really don't. They just haven't got the money to stay. I would be shocked if they stayed. I really would. Aaron says, I'm more worried that Maguire and Evans are our backup centre-backs. Erik Ten Hag must have been fuming that he had to put them two on. Not backed well enough in the market. Sell the shit and back the manager. Absolutely. And Paul says, how on earth in this day and age can United have Maguire and Evans on a pitch together? Now, look, I love Johnny Evans, and I won't say an awful, I won't say anything bad about Johnny Evans. I will criticise his performances if they're not good enough. Of course I will. But Johnny Evans was let go of Manchester United 8 or 9 years ago because he wasn't good enough. And now he's coming on away at the Emirates at 35 years of age. It's crazy. Chris says, I respect your opinion, I agree, but he throws his arm across his body and then his hip into him to stop his progress. Gabriel did it because he got beaten. 50-50 is different. Yeah, okay, I take your point. Yep, absolutely. Sarah says, is Martial injured? Martinez. Is Martinez injured? Sorry, I'm just so used to, when I see injured, I'm so used to just saying Martial. Martinez doesn't look like the injury is going to be too bad. He is going to get some assessment in Argentina on international duty, but he is gone on international duty, so it doesn't seem to be too bad. Striker says Glazers out. Arthur says Man City will walk the Champions League as well with the draw like that. Finney says Glazers holding out for the last of the cash. They haven't been good for this club. They've been the worst thing that's ever happened to this club. And some bad things have happened to Manchester United over the years. FFP, Erik Ten Hag had no choice. I think FFP is a smokescreen, Barney. I really do. I think FFP is... We should not be anywhere near worried about FFP. And the reason being is that owners can soak up 90% of losses up to 100 million euro. So basically, the owners can put forward an extra €90 million every year towards transfers, towards the everyday running of the club, and then you're nowhere near worrying about FFP. The Glazers don't do that. The Glazers take money out of Manchester United, which ties our hands even more. So I think FFP, while it is a case that, okay, we may have to be, keeping an eye on it, we shouldn't have to be keeping an eye on it if the owners invest their own capital into the club. And that's the the big and small of it. Finney says, look at Brighton, they're fantastic to watch. Absolutely. Tim says, we already got fined by FFP after last year. FFP worry at our level is a joke. Cottle says, a top 4 prediction after those set of games. Top 4 prediction, City. City by a long way, by the way. I'll go City. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, United. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, United. And you know what I'm worried about more than anybody else for that 4th spot? Is Brighton. If Brighton can continue... Now, obviously, they'll have a dip. Of course they will. But they're playing some football. Arthur says they have took United to the cleaners, bled us dry. Let's see. Andrew says, why is there such a toxic atmosphere in the dressing room? Going on 4 years, multiple managers. Well, I think Ten Hag is doing his best to weed them out. He's got rid of the Pogbas, the Jesse Lingards, these types of players. He's trying to get rid of the likes of Harry Maguire's, even Jadon Sancho. He was open to letting him go last year. So he's trying, and I think he's done an awful lot of good. But we've still got some way to go to cleaning out the toxicity. Dean Henderson, another great one, gone. You know what I mean? He was a guy that I was convinced was, going behind managers and backs and going to the media. Chris says, the only criticism that I have of Ten Hag has not shown us an identity in the attacking third. Maybe we grow that now with Highland, and I will wait and see. Yeah, I agree, Chris. Yeah, I do. City, Liverpool, Brighton and Arsenal, says Irish lad. There we go. Guys, I appreciate everybody watching. Please do smash the like button if you haven't already done so. Anybody watching on YouTube, if you're new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button as well. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers, not far off of it now, so I do appreciate your support. We'll be back to, I'm not sure, some news as well. I will be starting on a radio station tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. I think it's from 6 o'clock. I've been asked to come in as part of a sports show on my local community radio, Kilkenny Community Radio, it's called. You can get it online, so if you type in Kilkenny Community Radio, go check it out. I'll be starting tomorrow on a sports show, so if that's something you have any interest in, make sure you are getting involved in it as well. You can check us out online. I'll know more after tomorrow, whether you can text in or whatever it may be. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, looking forward to doing that. So, and it's all down to the channel. So it's come from the channel. And if you guys never watched, then it wouldn't have come around. So I appreciate your support. I really do. But yeah, so I'm not sure, will I be able to go live tomorrow night? I will know more tomorrow. But if I do go live, it'll probably be later. It'll probably be maybe 9 o'clock or so. But I keep you informed anyway. And I see what the situation is. Maybe if I can bring a camera in or something like that, and maybe I can live stream it. I'll know that in the coming weeks or so. But yeah, I appreciate everybody watching, guys. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow. If not, I'll be back Wednesday anyway. We're going to be doing a podcast with Ricey on Wednesday. So make sure you're getting involved in that as well. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Stay safe. Come on, United. It's tough, but come on, United. See you in a bit.